Labour's land tax hikes. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee, because we're going to have a talk about the new tax hikes that are coming into Victoria. Surprise, surprise, shock, horror, gasp. Budget issues, locking down the economy, and of course, the solution is more taxation. That's what you need. And I know the people in the comments are going to be going, but it's the rich people, Florian, let's tax them all. Well, if you do that, you're going to eventually drive them all away. Victoria's already having a drain of people leaving the state. So is New South Wales. I know, because a lot of them are coming to Queensland. This is the thing. The wealthy people have the capability to leave and to get away and to avoid the taxation. And then what happens? Well, the taxation certainly trickles down. Now, before we go through this new suggestion here, or implementation in Victoria, I want to remind you, this is an article from the Daily Mail. Australia is the third highest taxed country in the OECD. We are extremely taxed. And I would suggest, I'd put a bit of a theory here, that this high level of taxation is what's driving people to mitigate their tax. And the most common method that most people use to mitigate their tax is to invest into property. Negative gearing that property. Using that to offset their other taxation. And then just it exacerbates from there. It creates a bubble for the cost of that property, or, well, not really, is it a bubble? Because there's a natural market demand, just that demand is spurred on by this high taxation. You know, Australians pay the third highest income tax in the world, behind only Denmark and Iceland. Behind only Denmark and Iceland, everyone. A single childless worker earning an average of 86,000 handed over 22.7% of their wage in income tax in 2020. Maybe we should be addressing this before imposing more taxes. Wouldn't it be novel? Wouldn't it just be novel for the government to say, okay, we've got significant debt. We've decided to reduce these services. And there's a lot they could cut in Melbourne, everyone. A lot of programs they could cut. A lot of social justice garbage that's perpetrating all of Victoria, not just Melbourne. Definitely they could find savings, but it won't win as many votes. People don't understand that you tax the developers, you tax the wealthy property owners. It just flows through the economy. Everyone's paying for it then. So let's have a look at what Labour's suggesting here, because, oh, wait till you see who they're copying. Wait till you see who they're copying. The most bumbling nincompoop of a president that America's had since at least one election. You know? Everyone's good old Biden. Good old Biden. You don't have those angry tweets, Democrats, anymore, but, you know, Biden's rolling back that peace in the Middle East, that, you know, all of Trump's policies. Victoria's wealthiest property owners will be hit with new taxes to boost the state's economic recovery out of the pandemic. Okay, taxes never boost the recovery of anything. Taxes are theft. They're taking from one group to another. They're work that you have to do. We work about a third of the year. Well, no, here, 22% of the year an average person works. So 1/5 of the year you are working just for the state. Are you happy with where that money's going? Are you happy with how they're spending it? Everyone. What would you be willing to sacrifice in free government services if your tax burden was reduced? Just think about that. Ahead of next week's 21-22 state budget, Treasurer Tim Pallas has announced $2.7 billion in measures that will see developers and other wealthy landowners make a larger contribution compared with those at the bottom and middle of the wealth scale. Okay, here's the stupid thing with this. You tax developers. What are developers going to do? They're just going to go, oh, well, we'll just happily pay that tax. No, they'll find a way to increase their revenue to mitigate it. They'll pass it on to the bottom and middle income people who are buying the products from the developers. Okay, I know people don't like developers, guys. I know you want to live in this fantasy bloody world of, like, you know, white picket fences suburbia like in the 50s, but you don't want to have anything else that goes with it. You can't have it both ways. Okay? Mr. Pallas said this would make Victoria's tax system fairer and progressive. Fairer and progressive. Isn't progressive a derogative term at the moment? Come on. Fairer. Stealing more money from people. How about you cut some of the services, mate? Among the new taxes is a windfall gains tax on property developers who can make huge profits overnight when ex-industrial land is rezoned to be turned into residential estates. The new measure will raise $40 million a year, and the money to be invested in public transport, schools and community needs, Mr. Palace said. Why? Why? Okay, I mean, it's not the fairest thing that if land is rezoned from one thing to another, but if you're rezoning industrial land, there's going to be a lot of requirements to get that to a capacity that can be used for residential. Sure, it can be rezoned, but you're still going to have all the mitigation costs. The government is also targeting men's private clubs. Do they even exist? Do they even exist anymore? What do we have in Brisbane? You've got the Tats Club. The Brisbane Club is open to everyone. I mean, this is such a bloody joke here. When are they taxing the unions? We'll also be targeting men's private clubs, such as the exclusive Melbourne Club in the CBD, by stripping them of their land tax concessions. This brings them into line with other private organisations who must already pay land tax on their land holdings. Taxes on large land holdings will also be increased to raise more than $380 million a year. From January 1 next year, the land tax rate will rise by 0.25 percentage points for taxable land holdings worth more than $1.8 million, and by 0.3 percentage points for those exceeding $3 million. So $1.8 million. That doesn't sound... I mean, you don't have residential land tax in Victoria, do you? Not yet? Because 1.8 million isn't that high for house prices. What's the average now? 800-900 grand? You'll be getting, some people will be touching on that. Stamp duty on properties worth more than $2 million will be increased from 5.5% to 6.5%, raising an extra $137 million a year on average. And how much of this is just going to pay interest on the debts that our state government has? How much of it? How much of the economy did the Victorian government destroy because of their interventions in the market? Lockdowns weren't the only suggestion, everyone. Okay? We're not all going to fall over and die. There's other mitigating factors. Where's the advertising campaign? Where's the advertising campaign looking at addressing comorbidities so you can open up the economy faster rather than taxing everyone? I mean, this is just a political stunt. Taxing a men's club. I mean, okay, cool. Come on. It's such an old-fashioned idea. How many of you, I've been to them. I've had mates that are members of them. You go there and you get pissed and you meet people. It's, it's not too bad. But still. Asked by reporters if the government was unfairly taxing the rich, Mr. Palace said those with the capacity to provide were being required to make a moderate contribution for a more cohesive community. That's it. It's what they decide you should pay. While the property industry was hit hard in the early phase of the pandemic, for which it received ample government support, they'd seen a massive bounce back of wealth accumulation at the top end of the market, he explained. Well, I would rather you don't do the government support. You don't do the government interventions. Not to the extent that you did. Maybe those, why don't we, instead of locking down the whole Victorian economy, why don't you just say anyone who has a BMI of or overweight or above, can't go to shops. What do you think? Well, that would probably destroy the economy, wouldn't it? Because we're all so bloody unhealthy, myself included. The Victorian Chamber of Commerce voiced concern in response to the pending new taxes, particularly in relation to increases in stamp duty and land tax. This is the thing. There's talk of bringing land tax into into New South Wales. We don't want land tax, everyone. You do not want them. You don't want a constant taxation. They're just chipping away at you. People will be disincentivized to invest in things like factories and shop fronts, while it will also have a negative impact on the residential property market, as people will be reluctant to upsize, considering the huge tax implications in doing so. Chief Executive Paul Guerrier said, well, so they do have residential tax in Victoria. Well, there you go. Sucks to live in Victoria, eh? Don't worry. You've got that expensive power there too. It'll make you feel good. Oh, and don't forget about that rampant crime that's just going, all the gang violence. We don't mention that. That's all fake news, isn't it? It will drive up house prices in the $2 million plus category overnight. Opposition leader Michael O'Brien lambasted the government's new tax hikes, saying it was taking a baseball bat to Victoria's finances. It was economically reckless, he said, and would hurt small businesses. Yes, but Mike, what argument can you make anymore? He said that because increasing land tax would prompt landlords to hike commercial rent prices. Yes, it will. Because these costs are all passed right back down till they get to every consumer, guys. Okay? That's how it's going to work. The landlords will have the capacity to pass it on. So they'll do it. They'll do it. So what's the solution here? They're going to be people going, oh, we got to tax the rich, we got to tax the rich. They don't understand the implications of it. There's no point taxing everyone if we just keep on growing government debt and government services. Look at this, $1.3 trillion, guys. $1.3 trillion the government has racked up. And this is how they're going to chip away at it. Oh, we need this little tax, we need this little tax, we need this little tax. We're the third most taxed country in the world. If you look at everything else, all the other taxes we pay, it equals to about 50%. You go, I bought a 6-pack of beer the other day. How much tax am I paying on that? You go buy some smokes, how much tax do you pay on that? You go drive your car, how much tax do you pay on the petrol? All these things add up. You buy anything, how often are you paying GST? Maybe the government should just slow it. It'd be good just to look at pulling it back and reducing the size. What's the solution to this? Now, what we really need to avoid is what I would say the left-leaning politics of jealousy and envy. You find a lot of the socialists, a lot of the lefties, jealousy. They don't want to help the poor. They're jealous of the rich. They're jealous of those that have achieved more than them. They're jealous of those that have had more opportunities. And guys, life is unfair. You know, there are some men that have this problem where their hair keeps growing for their whole life. So they've got to maintain it, they've got to wash it, they've got to put product and all these girly things in it rather than just get it cut off. I can't understand it. You know? For those of us that are fortunate enough where it just falls out, to realize that we can spend more time on other things than our hair. Life isn't fair. Or have people forgotten that? Too many of the kids' cartoons, I have to tell my daughter all the time, yeah, no, life isn't fair, and people do judge you by what you look like. Okay, that's, if people tell you, she went to day school and the teachers were saying, oh, people judge you by what's on the inside, and go, no, that's not true. They'll judge you by what you look, how you dress, how you appear. That's what makes a difference. Don't pretend it doesn't. Okay, that's what it is. We need to advocate for reduced taxation and smaller government it should be in principle, not on principle. I'm going to change that now. All the spelling bloody nutters we have in the comments. You spelt a word wrong. It's funny watching them get upset. We need to increase our general financial literacy and encourage freedom from debt, because then you'll have people more politically free. I'd at least hope. And we need to shift the Overton window, everyone, because the Overton window is not sitting at the center anymore. And if you're not familiar with the Overton window, that's where something's considered appropriate to discuss in public, you know, without people going, oh, how dare you talk about that? You know, the central things here that everyone will discuss. Overton window is moving more to the left. It's just moving more to the left. Look at the budget that the Liberals have put out. It's a very left-leaning budget. Labour can't get in anymore without Greens' preferences. What does it tell you? We need to shift it more, everyone. So, there you go. What do you reckon? You a fan of this new tax? Do you think it will be the saviour of Victoria, or are you not at all surprised? As always, thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one in the comments down below. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using affiliate links on Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.